Good morning, scholars. It's Miss Lloyd. Welcome to another awesome week at GLASW and Virtual Global. Give me 1 second so I can share my screen. All right, perfect. All right, this week we are in science, and our question for this lesson is how do plants and animals need each other? Our standard for this lesson is standard 3.1.2. Point A3. Identify similarities and differences in the life cycles of plants and animals. Which brings us to our objectives. I can understand how living organisms are interdependent with the living and non living surroundings. I can also compare ways living organisms depend on each other in food chains. All right, so this lesson is pulled straight from our science book, and it's also titled How Do Plants and Animals Need One Another? So, the first question on this page in the blue box over here in this section says this bat drinks from the plant. How is the bat also helping the plant? The bat spreads blank. Throughout this lesson, we will find the answer to that question, that fill in the blank. For our active reading strategy, I'm just going to pull out the vocabulary words for this lesson, and they are on this side on the white background. Our first vocabulary word is environment. The next word is pollen, and the third word is food chain. By the end of this lesson, we will have a definition for these three words. All right, these pages are right from our science book. It says, in your place, Ms. Lloyd is just reading from over here. Plants and animals use living and non living things to meet their needs. They get the things they need from their environment. All the living and non living things in a place make up an environment. This yellow highlighted word is our first vocabulary word. And the definition is in the sentence that it is a part of. All the living and non living things in a place make up an environment. Ms. Lloyd is now going to start reading these yellow bubbles. Plants and animals need water. We see the zebras drinking water. Also, plants and animals need air. Plants need sunlight to make food. Animals find food in their environment. This next bubble, plants and animals need space to live and grow. Animals find shelter in the environment where they live. Hmm. And down here it says, what do both plants and animals need from their environment? And we can find those answers in these three bubbles and also the bubble on this page, the things that plants and animals need from their environment. This page is titled Getting Help. Ms. Lloyd is going to start from reading right here. Animals use plants to meet their needs. Many animals use plants for shelter. Some animals hide in plants. Other animals live in plants or use them to build homes. Now we're going to go over some animals and how they use plants for shelter. An owl finds shelter in a tree. A lion hides in tall grass. And I'm reading from right here. Animals need to breathe air to get oxygen, a gas in the air. Plants give off oxygen. Some animals use plants for food. Some animals eat animals that eat plants. Here are some examples. A panda eats bamboo, which is a plant, and ants find both food and shelter in the thorns of this tree. Giving help. Animals, Ms. Lloyd is reading from right here. Animals may help plants produce, reproduce, or make new plants. Some animals carry fruits to new places. There, the seeds inside the fruits may grow into new plants. Down here, this dog spreads seeds that hide inside the burrs of its fur. On the next page, some animals spread pollen for plants. Pollen is the powder that flowers need to make seeds. Pollen may stick to an animal. The animal carries the pollen from flower to flower. This helps plants make new plants. And here are some examples. As a bat drinks the flower nectar, pollen rubs off on the bat. This is also on our first page of our science booklet. And it asks how does the bat help the flower? Here is the answer. The bat carries pollen. Our next bubble, a woodpecker moves acorns with its beak. Seeds are inside the acorns, and a beetle carries pollen on its body. Eat up. Ms. Lloyd is starting from over here. These pictures show a food chain. A food chain shows how energy moves from plants to animals. Follow the arrows. They show how plants and animals are linked in a food chain. So Ms. Lloyd's going to start right here with the first box. Food chains start with sunlight and plants. In this food chain, the water plants use sunlight to make their food. So in the beginning of a food chain, the sunlight is very important. And this is the arrow going to the next box. A turtle eats the water plants. And then a bigger animal, an eagle, eats the turtle. And then this box says draw what is missing from the first step of the food chain. So this food chain has the plants, but something else is missing. This is the correct form of how a food chain starts. It has the plants and it also has something else. Can you guess what it is? Awesome job. It is sunlight. This food chain is missing sunlight. Here are our weekly assignments, the Sum It Up worksheet, the Brain Check worksheet, and the Applying Concepts worksheets. These worksheets will be attached to the assignments due for this week. Ms. Lloyd has a video to show us. Here is the video that talks about the same things from the PowerPoint in the science book pages.
In many places around the world, plants and animals all live together happily. How does this happen? Like building a house, plants and animals have different jobs to make living in the same place possible. People building a house work on different parts, just like plants and animals all work together in different ways in order to live happily. One way different species live together is by providing food and doing favors for each other. For example, birds often help hippos by picking the harmful bugs off of hippos' backs. In return, the birds are able to eat these bugs for food. Trees and bushes help animals by providing food for them to eat. Without plants, many animals would have nothing to eat and would have to travel very far to find food. Many kinds of plants are needed for different animals to have food, just like giraffes need tall trees to eat from since they are so tall. Not all animals eat plants though. Some eat other smaller animals, which creates the process called the food chain. In the food chain, the sun helps plants grow, which are eaten by animals. Larger animals prey on the smaller ones. When these predators die, their bodies are broken down into nutrients that help plants grow. Plants need these nutrients to grow not only to provide food for animals, but also to make healthier water for animals to drink. During a process called photosynthesis, plants use carbon dioxide from animals and sunlight to create oxygen. This oxygen creates healthier air and water for animals. In return, animals help plants by spreading their seeds and pollinating other plants with these seeds. Another way plants and animals help each other is by providing protection. For example, birds can make nests in tree branches to lay their eggs out of harm's way. For some creatures, plants are often more supportive for building homes than the ground, where they can be ruined. For other animals and insects, strong, sturdy plants are needed for survival. When the caterpillar changes to a butterfly, it needs a location to safely transform itself. Once the butterfly has transformed, it repays plants by continuing to pollinate other plants. The last way animals depend on plants is for weather protection. When the sun is too hot, some animals need shade. When there is precipitation, animals need protection from tree limbs, shrubs, and other plants. Even animals underwater need protection from sun and weather. Many fish find protection in coral. This coral is also used as food to eat by some smaller fish. This is just the beginning step in the underwater food chain. No matter the location on Earth, plants and animals must work together to provide each other with food and protection from other creatures and the weather. By helping each other, different species can live together happily in the same ecosystem.
All right, and Ms. Lloyd is going to stop the video right there. PowerPoint for the wrap it up section. So for our wrap it up section, we're going to go over the standards, the objectives, and one reminder that Ms. Lloyd has. So our standard, again, for this lesson is 3.1.2.A3. Identify similarities and differences in the life cycles of plants and animals. Our objectives: I can understand how living organisms are interdependent with their living and non-living surroundings. So how animals and plants use the things in their environment to survive. I can also compare ways living organisms depend on each other in food chains. And lastly, our reminder for this week: please remember to complete your iReady diagnostic testing. This is also assigned as your Friday assignment. Good luck on your testing. I hope you all do an awesome job and give it your best. Have an awesome week on purpose. And this concludes our science lesson for this week. I will see you next time.